Hello and welcome to part 10 of the Pick Scraper tutorial. And in this tutorial we're going to go ahead and add code to our forward button, and then we're going to put in a spinner so we can direct enter where we want to go in our list, and also we're going to have a label that shows us where we are at in the list. Okay, so let's add a click event to our forward button. So we'll go over here to our events and we'll double click here on the onClick. And now we're in our forward click. And this part's going to be pretty easy. What we're going to do here is just copy the code from our button back click procedure here. So we'll copy that and we'll paste it in our button forward click event. And so this is going to be pretty easy actually. All we have to do is just kind of modify a few things to make it work in the forward direction instead of going backwards. I'll take this, instead of being if INX is greater than 0, we're going to say if our index INX is less than the total count of the links, -1. And you want to remember -1 is because count starts at 1 and the index INX starts at 0, so that'll even things up. Now instead of decrementing, we want to increment. So we'll increment. Okay, and then in our else, we'll say increment if it's less than the count. Otherwise, index will equal 0. So when it gets to the top of the array, after you get the maximum number, it's going to go back to 0. So it kind of has that looping effect where you're starting at 0 and ending at, say, 20, and then you go past that and you're back to 0 again. Okay, so let's try something. Let's go ahead and hit our search. We'll put in beaches. See what we get out of that. Okay, so we got a result. Let's try to go forward and see if anything explodes. All right, and we loaded that. And I think I'm gonna just adjust my lighting here because I keep flickering light and dark. So let's see if I can just kind of modify that real quick. All right, that's better, I think. All right, now we know that our picture is going forward, and we hit it again and it's going forward again. So that's really cool. So now let's close that, now that we know that's working. Now it's time to add some more stuff. Now that we know we can go forward and backwards, let's go click a label here, and we'll just put that right here. Okay, and this is going to be our label button, give us our status so we know where we are in our list. So if we're on, say, picture number 5, we'll know that instead of just kind of guessing. We'll go ahead and anchor this to our button and then hit that button to the left to put it to the left, and we'll move it over about 12 pixels, maybe 16. Yeah, that's better. And then we'll anchor it to our forward button on top and center it. Okay. Now let's just change our caption and we'll make that a 0 because by default it's going to be at 0, right? So we're nowhere in the beginning. Okay. And then we'll name this label pick number. So this label is going to tell us what pick number, or where we're at in our list. So now this won't be too hard. All we're going to have to do is that label is going to reflect here our links index. So if our links index is on, say, 3, and remember it starts 0, 1, 2, 3, then our picture number would actually be 4, because we'd be starting at 1 instead of 0 to make it more user-friendly, of course. So we're putting a begin and end in here now because we're going to add more things to this if statement, whereas before we didn't need it because the getPick function was just by itself. getPick procedure. Okay, so now let's call label pick number dot caption is integer to string, int to str, str, and then in parentheses will be our index number, inx. And then let's just copy that, and we'll put that in our back button as well. And again, we're going to surround this with begin and end. Paste that in. Okay, and we'll also need to do that in our getRandomPick. After we get the result, we want that to show up. And this looks like a pretty good spot. We'll just put it right under where our total picks gets activated. Okay. You know, I need to put a +1 in there too, because we want our, like I was saying before, we want our caption to be human friendly. So when we look at this, when we're at our first picture, we want to see it at picture number 1 and not at numbers at 0. So let me go ahead, go back to our other, and we'll do the same thing here. Add the +1 and +1. Okay, that's better. One last thing we got to go back and do. Let's launch this. Oh right, that needs to go inside the parentheses. Otherwise it's in an area that should be a string. So inx +1. And we'll slide that in there. Okay, better. And then we'll go down here. See the little red notches there? Those indicate where we had our arrows. And the yellow notch up here is just an indicator of where we just were. So that's a nice little hint to know in case you need to jump back and forth and you want to scroll back up. You can just look at that little yellow notch there and you'll know how to get back to where you were. Okay, we'll launch this again and see how our results look. So I'm going to put another search in here. How about space? That's something different. Kind of reminds me of the inside of my head. Okay, and there's a pretty cool looking picture. Wow, and as you can see, we're at number 7. So now we know where we're at in our list. And when I hit this forward, it should increment up to number 8. So now out of 20 pictures, we're at picture 7. Or in our array, it would actually be 8. And now we're at picture 8. And it did increment, and we got another space picture. So this is starting to come together. Nice. So now let's go in here, and we're going to add another thing. We're going to put in a spinner bar. Let me go find this. Actually, it's not a spinner bar, but what we want to do is we also want to direct enter to where we want to go. So it's nice to be able to scroll up and down, but suppose we're at picture 5 and we want to go to 18. This little spin box here will let us go directly where we want to go. And that was under the miscellaneous tab. Okay, so the spin edit box we're going to use to direct it. And why are we using this spin edit instead of a text field? because we want to just use numbers. And even though the text edit does have a numeric only option in there, I find that this is just better overall, especially for this situation. So now we're adding a hint. This is something we haven't done before. So in our hint, it's direct enter a picture number is what I wrote. And then we're going to set our minimum value at 1 and not 0 because we want this to match our label starting at 1, the count. And we can leave our spin edit name at spin edit. Now let me go ahead and just anchor this just to keep things tidy. So I'm going to anchor it to the back button above there on the left. And now from the top, I'm going to also anchor it to the back button right there. And then from the bottom of that button. And let me push that down maybe 16. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to start this real quick because I just want to show you the hint. The hint should show up when I mouse over that. So let's take a look. And there it is, direct enter a picture number. That's what we just wrote. So we know our hinting is working, and it's going from 1 to infinity. And we're also going to put a check in there. So if we go above the number of our total picks, like if we have 20 picks and so we enter 99 in there and hit enter, we don't want it to explode on us, so we're going to have a check for that too. And with that said, let's go ahead and click on our key down event because we want to press enter after we put a number in, and that would be done in our on key down. So first of all, I think I want to put a check in here, so let me go to our other function, like back button click, and we're also going to call this. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it in here, because when we click this guy, of course, that's where we want to go. And this index, we're going to set that index to the value of our spinner box, or our spin edit control. So this will be spin edit dot value. Okay, so spin edit dot value will be our actual, and then we got to do -1 because we're talking an index which starts at 0, so we got to compensate for that. Now we'll save it and we'll give it a try and see if that works. Wait a minute. Before I try this, I forgot. So let's go if spin edit dot value is greater than links dot count, then exit. We want that check in there, because if we're over, then you know, we don't want it to process our picture. We just want it to stop. So that protects us in case we put a number in there like 99 or 10,000. Then it's not going to give us an invalid index error. And that would be spin edit dot value -1, of course, is greater than links dot count -1, because again we're referring to the index. So they both have to be -1 since they start at 1. I know that sounds repetitious, I keep repeating that, but it bears repeating, I think, especially if you're kind of new in this game. Let's go ahead and start this again. And let's hit our search. Do the space thing again. Okay, and now let's try direct entering something in our spin box. you can see we're at number 6. So let's say we want to go, let's see, out of 20 pictures, let's say we want to go to picture number, and technically it's a link in our string list that it's pulling out, and then it's loading that link into our image component. So just to clarify that in case you forgot. Oh, wait a minute here. No wonder it's going crazy. It's just like crashing and trying to load no matter what I do. And that's because I did not specify a key. So it's actually reacting to any key I press, whether it's a number key when I enter the number or what have you. It tries to load a picture. So we got to put in here if key equals vk return, then begin and do all this stuff. Okay, and we'll end it there. And then I'm just going to put that and tab it over. So I'm going to hit my tab after I highlight it. And that tabs over everything. Let me just kind of, there we go. And by the way, if you want to move something backwards, hit the Shift and Tab at the same time. Shift Tab, and that'll move it backwards, and then Tab moves it forward. So just another little bit of trivia there that might be helpful. Okay, let's launch this again, and now this should only work when we hit return. So we'll go ahead and stay on our space theme here. And let me just test this real quick. See, I wanted to try to hit return in there with no image loaded, and I'm getting a sig-sev fault. And I believe that's because links does not exist, because a picture was never loaded, so links was never instantiated. Links is our string list. And remember, we have to do links equals tstring list create, like you see up here, and that instantiates our link and creates it, our array or our string list. So we have a check down here already, so I'm going to just put that up here. So right now links is nil. It doesn't exist. So when it doesn't exist, then exit. Links only exist once we load a picture, and it scrapes that page and fills it with stuff. Okay, enough of my repetition. Let's go ahead, and that took care of it. I just hit enter after I clicked on the 1 there, and it didn't do anything, just like it was supposed to. So now we'll load our space picture. Wow, that's a cool one. All right, and out of 20 pics, we're at picture number 13. So let's go to another one, direct enter to say 20, because this way we can kind of test our loop. And there we are at 20, except our label is not reflecting that. It's still showing 13, but we are at 20. So we'll have to fix that real quick. Let me just go 100, which is way out of range. Hit enter, and it ignored it, just like it should. So that's good to know. So now we know we can go to the top of our range and it works. And if we do something crazy like hit 100, it ignores us. Okay, and we just moved forward to 14. So we know that our status label there is still working when we go forward using our buttons. It's just not changing when we direct enter a number. So we got to reflect that. We, in our key down here, let's see, we can just stick it in here. And what I'm doing here is I also want the value inside our spin edit to match the index that we're on, except we're adding +1 so it's user friendly. So if we're at index 0, the user will see picture number 1. Under here, we're going to put our index. We're going to assign that inx is spin edit 1 dot value -1. And now we're going to set our label. Our label pick number variable, we're going to assign that to our index, inx +1. Actually, that should be caption. Okay. I do that a lot. I always seem to forget to put in those captions and text references. And it didn't like something. What did I do? All right, we got to make that an integer to string. Okay, there we go. Okay. So now, let's see if this updates. Let's stick with our space theme, hit space. And there's a cool picture, wow. And we're at number 4 right now, so let's go to, let's say, picture number 20. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to forward over and make sure that it loops back to 0, or picture 1 as we see it here. Okay, nice, and it did reflect here in our status label, just where I want it. Now let's move forward, and it should go to picture number 1. And it did. Excellent. Nice. And if we go backwards, it should go loop back to 20. To the bottom of our list. And there we go, 20. Yeah, that's where we were before. So that is working flawlessly. Very good. So it looks like we need to add down here in our back button click. We also want to update the value in our spin edit. So when we go backwards and say we're going from, say, 20 back to 0, I'd kind of like that to be reflected in our spin edit too. So instead of being at the last number I entered, I'd like that to stay current. So let's do that. And then I'm going to copy this because I want to add that into our forward button too, so it also updates our spinner going forward. Okay. And let's give that a try now. And space. Okay. I see that's at 1 and that's at 2. So I kind of like that to update also when we first load our picture, but no big deal right now. Let me put in 15, hit enter. Okay. And everything updated. Now let me go ahead and close that. And we'll just take this, and I want that to update down in our grab a random pick function as well. So we'll go here and just paste it right underneath our label pick number caption line. And let's launch that again. And this is gonna probably get us to where we want to go here in this tutorial. So I'll go ahead and put in the space search. Alright. And as you can see, it updated in our spinner box as well as on our status. I like it. Very good. And let's go backwards. And everything should go down to 14. And it did. Excellent. And that's kind of a cool picture of the moon. Alright. Let's clear that out. Grab a random pick, make sure it updates in our random function procedure. Maybe that was a function. Yeah, I guess it was. Ooh, that looks yummy. Alright, and everything looks like it reflected the update. 14 and 14, so that's great. Alright, and that does it for number 10. And if you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching.